Okay, well, I've got to say, here's a first. I have never done a video of me cooking, but I always said I would. So here we go, because to be honest, I think writing a lot of text is really boring. I do like cooking, and I'm a huge fan of making soup. I actually love a soup maker because it's super duper easy. I don't have to stand and watch it. Plug it on, walk away, and then can do lots of other jobs. Anyway, just bear with me while I get the peeler, because clearly I'm not as organised as I would have liked. Okay, so usually I make a smooth soup, but you know what? Today I feel like a change, so I am going to make a chunky soup, because the soup maker, you can do both. So I don't use any oil, no fats, no spray. But for me, a soup always has to have onions. So I'm going to start with one onion, and you will see it is, you know, really is super duper easy. And if you, like me, you're coming from work or you're busy and you're starving and you want something quick, I find a soup, you know, a really good filler. And my soup maker holds quite a lot, so it will do me a couple of days. And also, I'm not drowning in it then, so I can make one every couple of days, so I don't get bored of having the same vegetable soup. But really, to be honest, anything you've got in your fridge, anything you've got in your freezer, just sling it in. I have a few favourites while I'm chopping I can share with you. I love parsnip and apple. Obviously, the apple works out, does have a few sins in it, but very minimal, because it's one apple between a whole pot of soup. And with that, I would just do, say, 3 or 4 parsnips, 1 onion, and 1 apple, chicken stock, and your water. And honestly, it really is a gorgeous soup. So with this one, I'm doing a chunky soup. As I said, I don't always put potato in, but it's still a free food, so you can. And like I said, and I'm only going to put 1 in. So I'm going to peel 1 potato, not a very big one, a medium size potato is fine. Wasn't great doing onions now, because I'm now crying, which isn't the best when you're videoing yourself, is it really? But hey ho, it happens to us all. So as I'm doing a chunky soup, I'm going to chop up just into about 8 pieces this potato, sling it in. So I've done 1 onion, 1 potato. I'm going to do maybe a nice big carrot. We'll see. I always fill the veggies up to the line, which is inside my soup maker. So sometimes I'll start with 1 and then maybe add another 1. See where it takes me. Another favourite soup that I like is butternut squash with red pepper. So again, and 1 onion. So I will do the butternut squash and the onion and 1 pepper to the lime. Add stock and water. And sometimes I'll even put a bit of, to give it a bit of a kick, I might put a bit of chilli powder in it. But that's entirely up to yourselves really, whether you like spicy or whether you don't. Celery as well. I'm going to put some celery in here. So I'm going to pull, I don't know, say 3 stalks of celery off. Yeah, it's a bit muddy, so I'm going to give it a nice wash. And then I will cut the ends off. I always like to wash all my veg first, but you can just as easy use frozen veg, frozen broccoli, frozen cauliflower. In fact, cauliflower and broccoli soup is really quite nice. It's very tasty, and what I quite like to do with that is save some cheese and put some sprinkling of cheese in when it's cooked in your bowl as part of my healthy extra A. Sorry for keep leaning over to the side where you can't see me. I'm just popping the soup, the vegetables in the soup maker. I can see I've got quite a way to go yet, so I'm going to put another carrot in. I might actually even, that potato was quite little, so quite small, so I might go and get another one out of the fridge. Next time, I'll try and be a bit more prepared. But I do love cooking, and I want to share with you how easy it is to follow Slimming World, make, you know, really nice, healthy soups, no cans, no packets, just out of fresh veg. And actually, to be honest, I think the price of canned soups anyway is so expensive, especially when you're cooking for a family. It's much more, you know, economical to use either fresh or those frozen veg, to be honest. And it's a great way of getting, oh, excuse the dog. Whiskey, shush. It's a great way of getting vegetables into kids who can be a bit fussy. You know, not all kids like veg, but quite a few kids like a nice vegetable soup. As you can hear, I have a dog. His name is Whiskey. So I apologise if he decides to have a bit of a bark in between. So I use a peeler when I'm doing butternut squash. And I'm just going to then cut a few chunky slices. It's quite tough, but again, you can do ready chopped, you can do frozen, whatever suits you really. To be honest, you can do. So anybody that struggles with the hands or mobility or whatever, quite all right to use frozen butternut squash because it is a bit of a toughie, to be honest. It's not my favourite one for chopping. But I do like a soup. So I find it is worth the effort. And also remember, you can freeze soup, you can put them in boxes or bags or whatever floats your boat, and then just pull one out whenever you need it. To be honest, in our house, it doesn't live that long because we all like a nice steaming hot bowl of soup when they come in. You know, you can't beat it, to be honest. And then I actually find when I do make soup, I am less hungry. So then I don't tend to pick as much after dinner, which can be, you know, you get to 9 o'clock and you're thinking, what can I have now? But I do find when I've had soup before my dinner, I'm less likely to reach for something else. And actually, if you wanted to, you could have another bowl later on, if you wanted to save those sins for something else, or unless you ran out of them. You know, it's always better to reach for free food when you're hungry, which doesn't necessarily have to be vegetables. It can be fruit, soup. I find boiled eggs a good one to have in the fridge, or a chicken leg maybe is also quite nice if you get the nibbles later on, you know. Or you could have cottage cheese. The low-fat cottage cheese is free, and rice cakes or corn crackers, most of them are only 1 cent each. So 3 or 4 rice cakes with some nice cucumber and peppers and tomato on the side and cottage cheese, I find makes a really, really good healthy snack after dinner, instead of reaching for that chocolate, which actually 2 bites and then you're looking for something else. I find it fills that gap. But if you really do fancy something sweet, then my go-to tends to be meringue, sugar-free jelly, Alpro custard. I make myself like a sundae in a glass. At some point I will try and video that because they do look really nice. And I find actually over a weekend my grandchildren love them more than the cake, more than the dessert, they always ask for grandma's special dessert in a glass. And you know what? It takes 2 minutes to make. So win-win, really. Well, I don't know whether you can see, but it's pretty, you know, it's now virtually at the line. So what I'm going to add, what I like to add to mine for seasoning, this says salad seasoning, but I have to tell you, it's a mix of, you know, so many different herbs and spices that I really like it. You know, I don't need to add much else. It smells lovely, it gives an awful lot of flavour to whatever you're making.